On piano, we can easily see this repeating pattern of black and white keys. And there are sort of 2 black keys and then 3. And then we have C right here below the 2 black keys, and then we simply count up C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But on guitar, it all seems sort of mysterious at first. The keyboard is basically a visual representation of low to high, whereas the guitar might seem more complicated because we can't simply see where the natural notes are, and the guitar often offers many different ways to play the same pitch. And even when we've learned all of the notes in the first position, there doesn't really seem to be an obvious pattern to grasp onto. So what I propose we do to start our journey into a deeper understanding of the fretboard is to focus on learning how the notes fall on one string at a time. For one thing, working with just one single string, we actually do have a linear representation of low to high. But the notes on the guitar string follow the same pattern as they do on the piano keys. We count 12 keys in total before we get to the next C. Or you could say that we go up 12 keys to get to the same note an octave higher. Why do we say octave when octa means 8? There are 12 keys or 12 frets contained within an octave, so we can say that there are 12 half steps. But the number 8 is coming from the idea that we count up the steps of a scale, and those are the notes that are represented by the white keys. Now, just an interesting thing is that on the guitar, the 12th fret is the exact center of the string, and the pitch at the 12th fret is the same as the open string, but an octave higher. It's double the frequency. And likewise, we can go up 12 frets from any note on a string and find the same note an octave higher, just like piano. So one string is easier to visualize, but still, how do we approach memorizing where the notes are if we don't really have a visual cue? Let's look at the piano again. We can see that most of the natural notes are separated by a black key, but the pairs of notes B and C and E and F aren't. That's going to be a key piece of information for us. So let me say that again. E and F and B and C are beside each other, and all the others aren't. Let's quickly talk about steps. A step is the distance between adjacent notes of a scale, and the smallest possible step between any 2 notes is what we call a half step. And so B and C and E and F are separated by a half step. But all the other pairs, C, D, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, are a whole step apart. On guitar, a half step is the distance of moving up or down 1 fret, and a whole step is 2. So what happens on guitar is we can learn this pattern of the natural notes and how they fall on the strings. And all we need to know is the pattern of steps and the names of the strings, because that is what letter the pattern will start on. And then we simply count up following the pattern that most of the notes are separated by a whole step, except for B and C and E and F, which are separated by a half step. And then, once we know this pattern of the natural notes, we'll always have the ability to at least count up and down the strings to find the location of or name any note. And this will give you a good foundation on which to base your mastery of the fretboard. Now let's use the pattern of notes to find where the natural notes are on each string. Starting on the first string, we have the note E. So we'll find F right next door on the first fret. We're going to skip 1 to get to G, skip 1 to get to A, and again for B. But B and C are neighbors. Then we skip 1 to get to D, and then again to get to E. Once we get to the 12th fret, we are an octave above where we started, and so the pattern repeats again. But for now, I'd say just to count up to the 12th fret on each string. The second string starts with an open B, and so C is right next door. And then we skip 1 to get to D, skip 1 to E, F is a neighbor, and then we skip to G, skip to A, and skip to B on the 12th fret, which takes us back to where we started. The third string is G, so we skip 1 to get to A, skip to B, but B and C are neighbors. We skip 1 to D, skip 1 to E, and then E and F are beside each other. We skip to get to the 12th fret G, which takes us back to where we started. The fourth string is D, so starting on D, we move up a whole step to get to E, a half step to F, whole to G, whole to A, whole to B, a half step to get to C, and then a whole step takes us back to D. The fifth string is the A string, so we start on open A, and then up a whole step to B, half to C, whole to D, and again to E. We go up a half to get to F, and then whole steps to G, and then to the 12th fret A. And the sixth string is the same as the first string, except of course for being 2 octaves lower. Now I know it seems like we're neglecting the black key notes, but by skipping them, we are actually still accounting for them. And let's just quickly talk about their names. The natural notes sort of have their own default names, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but the black keys don't really have their own names, but rather they borrow them from the names of the notes they are beside. For example, this note between C and D could be called either C sharp or D flat. And for the purposes of this, we just want to be equally aware of both possibilities. So just think of it as C sharp / D flat. And then later in the series, we will talk more about why we would sometimes spell it one way and sometimes the other. And so here is your home play this week. Practice counting up and down the natural notes along each string from the open to the 12th fret. After you've done that a few times, start to focus on one string at a time, and maybe count up all the way as far as you can go. And then I just want to recommend to try to improvise a little bit on that one string using the natural notes. And to make it a little more fun, you could play along with a backing track. I'll include some links to backing tracks that would work for this in the description. And later we'll get more into how the keys and scales work. But just trust me for now that the natural notes can make a C major scale by starting on C and playing up C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or else an A natural minor scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And so those are the two keys that I'd recommend to use for backing tracks if you're going to search for more. If you're totally new to improvising and feel like you don't know what to do, a good place to start might be to count up and down the notes on the string, but just choose slightly interesting times of when to play the notes. Some more ideas are that the notes could be sort of long or short. At first, it's good to move around in a stepwise manner, and then when you're getting more confident, you can try skipping around a little more. You don't need to judge the quality of your improvisation. We're just trying to find and reinforce where the natural notes are on the strings. Next week, we'll continue to increase our fretboard IQ by looking at how unisons work on